Go. Hi, everybody. Claire with Clairvoyant Psychic Medium here, and
Erica with Erica Lane.
all right. Here, let me make it full screen. Okay. Um, Hi, everybody. We're going to be kind of like talking today about like the basics of our psychics reel, going over some of the clairs, and kind of like just diving into some topics. This is going to be like the actual start of our first podcast to kind of go over like how we are going to be bantering like back and forth, kind of. So, the first thing that we are going to be talking about is clairvoyance. So, Erica, if you want to read the definition of what you kind of figured out what that is.
Yeah, so according to Merriam-Webster dictionary, the definition of clairvoyance is the supposed faculty of perceiving things or events in the future or beyond normal sensory contact, otherwise known as psychics, mediums, fortune tellers, etc.
Okay. And to my understanding, clairvoyance is like the clearer seeing. Clairvoyance, that actual clair, is like the visions that you get. So it's past, present, future. It can be any of those things, and it's just like that flash that happens in your third eye. So it's highly visual, and it's a way to understand things when you can kind of see it. And then, like, most people that have it are like artists, builders, photographers, designers, stuff like that. So that's my definition compared to Erica's definition, which is more of like, I don't know, I guess like future-y kind of a feel. I don't know. What do you have
So
to
the
say with this?
the way that I understood it was that if you take it from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which was written by, I mean, I don't know who it was written by, but I'm assuming it wasn't written by like, new age
True.
people. So from their perception, to me, it kind of means the umbrella of it all. So the fortune tellers, the psychics, like all of that would be under the umbrella of clairvoyance, which we'll get into in this video, that there's actually different types of clairvoyance gifts. So this would, in this perception, be like the umbrella of it all, from what I'm understanding.
Okay.
Maybe we could get some feedback from our followers if they have anything to say about that.
Yeah, because just with me, like, thinking about that in general, like, clair, because to me, there's so many different types of clairs, and clairvoyance is just the, like, in my head, this is that 30-second commercial that goes across my head. That's all that clairvoyance is to me.
So then clairvoyance would be psychic visions, right?
Yes, yep, exactly.
Okay. So then you could kind of say that psychics and clairvoyance are like kind of hand in hand.
Oh, yes, definitely, because
Okay.
psychic, it's just a psychic, it's the subcategory of what the psychic gift would be that psychic has.
Okay, so then in your perception, psychics is actually the umbrella of it all. Okay. Okay.
So what are your misconceptions that you kind of want to go over with this?
Okay, so what I did was I researched like statistically what the most common beliefs are when it comes to the umbrella of it all. So psychics, mediums, clairvoyance, all of that. And basically what I did was I found the top 5, and then I wrote my explanation on how to kind of like resolve that misconception, I guess. Um, so and the first one I think will kind of get into the kind of the body of like how I feel about it in general. So then you can kind of like refer back to that as I'm going through the other misconceptions. So the first one is that psychics or clairvoyants can tell the future. So what I wrote here is that um, okay, so everything that humans are able to perceive or that we're able to see as real, tangible, is all within the limit of your consciousness. So, like this phone, this conversation only exists right now because I'm consciously aware of it existing, right?
Yeah.
So, if you think about time and space, then the same could be said for the past and the future. So, even though we're living in the present moment, presently my consciousness is able to perceive of my past, And then it's also able to imagine what I think that the future will look like. So a psychic or a clairvoyant can pick up on energy, which we're going to talk a lot about. Is like that's one way to kind of like, I guess, battle the misconceptions right off the bat, is that being a psychic or a clairvoyant, you're energy reading. So when you're picking up on someone's energy in the present moment, you can also pick up on their energy that comes from the past or that comes from the future. And also keep in mind that scientifically, there's not a lot of proof onto what consciousness really is. And there's also not proof that the future and the past and the present are all kind of existing simultaneously. And also, another thing to say about that is that the future, since it's within the limit of your own consciousness, you can always imagine and create it to be differently than what you have at the present moment. So a psychic can't, like a psychic, if a psychic's telling you like, hey, you're going to die when you're 50, I call bullshit because, yeah, I call bullshit. So go ahead, Claire.
So I guess being in the metaphysical community, I come across a lot of people that are fortune tellers. And I get asked all the time, like, I just want to know what the future has in store for me, blah, 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 blah. And my flat out blanket statement is that I'm not a fortune teller. I will not do a reading with the concept, whatever, of just that I'm going to do your fortune, future, whatever. Because free will comes into play. And let's say this said psychic says, oh, like what you said, you're going to die when you're 50 or whatever. Free will could be like, okay, the psychic told me that I'm going to die when I'm 50, so let's change my eating habits. Let's do this. Let's blah, blah, blah. And all of that can change. So I'm not saying that fortune telling isn't real. Because I very well can see that. There's all different kinds of things with it. Like, I mean, I used to have dreams when I was a kid that were the word is not coming to my head. But anyways, I would have a dream, like, I think I talked about it on our last podcast, like, that my grandpa passed away and then that Jesus came, and it was like, it happened before, and then I called my grandma and it was like, whoa, this is actually a thing that happened. That's, I think, a different kind of a thing because it has something to do with dreams. But if you have an actual person that is telling you like, hey, I see here you're going to die when you're 50 years old, we could talk about Akashic records with that. We could talk about so many different things that go into this, but for exact like fortune telling in general, I don't know.
So, and I'm not saying that psychic's not actually like, if we're just going to take the topic of someone telling you that when you're going to die, I'm not saying that they're not actually seeing that or that it's not real to them. But what I'm saying is that you should always take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt, because yeah, like what she said, it's always changeable. So maybe in the present moment, they're picking up on the energy that you are in poor health, and maybe you're constantly worrying that you're going to die when you're 50. So therefore, that psychic is picking up on that type of energy. So like what she said, I'm just saying that the future is always changeable, and that's all based on you, not what someone else tells you. So someone else can tell you all they want about your future, but ultimately it's up to you how your future actually unravels.
And yeah, it's up to you and your free will. You have the ability to change it completely.
Correct.
So, yeah. Okay. So, anything else about fortune telling or anything like that?
Well, another thing that I find interesting about fortune telling is that a lot of things kind of go under that umbrella too. Like even astrology could be considered fortune telling. Tarot card reading could be considered, like people use it as that anyway. Like I know that you don't whenever you do. I guess when you're kind of doing like the year ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I guess like I just want to say that even though yes, you might be able to take a peek into the future, like with astrology, for example, I think a lot of people can be bullshitted with astrology too. Like I think you could go to an astrologist and they could also do the same kind of thing of like, well, according to your birth chart, you're going to die when you're 50. But actually astrology is more the study of cycles. So yes, the future is changeable, but it does also go on cycles. So there are things that are permanent and there are things that are changeable. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yes.
So it's just kind of like a good balance between fate and free will.
Yep. And it's all about, like, I mean, honestly, if you're watching this and you've been like, oh, I want to find out my future, I want to figure out blah, 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 stuff like that. Like, the main thing is utilize your intuition. If your reader feels like, because I've been to, before I became an actual reader myself, I went to numerous like psychics and numerous tarot readers and stuff like that. And I've had my fair share of terrible readings. And where people were like, oh my God, you're going to be... I remember even just my aura photograph. They were like, there's a dark spot right here. Someone's going to die. Nobody died. Like, like, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And like I said, like, if someone tells you, like, oh, you're going to die when you're 50, it's like, okay, you can't let this just be like a looming cloud over you of like, this is going to happen. That's why you shouldn't... Okay, so this is my opinion. I don't feel that fortune-telling readers, or you should get a fortune teller, whatever, reading, because what is most important is you right now. And that's what I base my whole business on is let's fix what we can do now. We can't even get to where you want to go in the future if you don't fix this shit now, you know? So,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I would say that that's my main belief too. And I'm a huge advocate for mindfulness. And the whole point in mindfulness is to live in the present moment, because the past gives you depression and the future gives you anxiety. So the only way to kind of combat both of that is to always be in the present moment. So
Yes.
I agree completely.
Yes. Okay. So with what else do you have to say? Misconceptions. Okay.
Misconceptions. Okay, so the second one that I have is that psychics or clairvoyants can read minds. And what I had to say about that is that we are actually not, so this is where I'm going to get into the energy part of it. We are not mind readers. We cannot tell what you are thinking. So I know a lot of people will try to disprove it by saying like, oh, well, if you can read minds, then what's the lottery number? Or what's my birthday? You know, stuff like that. So we are not mind readers. We are energy readers. And so we are picking up again on the energy in the present moment. So if we're not meant to know what your birthday is or what the winning lottery numbers are, we're not going to know that. And we're not going to be able to tell you that, because we are not telling you what you are thinking. We are telling you the energy, the aura, the spirit guides, like all that stuff that you're putting off. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I put in that. Ultimately it's up to you and your spirit guides what the reading is going to end up telling you. We're honestly just vessels. Yeah. And I know that you can kind of talk about that too.
So a story came to my mind with that. So I had this, and I'm not meaning to offend anyone, and this is judgment, but whatever, this is who I am. A misogynistic, very hick-like male came up to me and he was like, oh, if you're such a psychic, why don't you tell me what the winning lottery numbers are? Like, that's a total normal thing that people say to me. And I'm like, well, I can't tell you what the like winning lottery numbers are, but I can tell you that you are going through a divorce right now and you need therapy. And he was like, it's I don't need to know the lottery numbers. I'm here to help heal and help people. The lottery numbers mean shit compared to your mental health that is like starving right now.
And so, that's what's jumping out at everybody around him. You know, that's the kind of energy that he's giving off.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally true. And I know that a lot of people, which there is like a whole evolutionary dynamic to what I think of as consciousness. So I think that some people that are on like a lower level of consciousness, even people that are really into like science and being scientifically correct, a lot of atheism type of stuff, think that this is a lot of like bullshit, foo-foo, la-la stuff. And they're not really taking into account that they also can't explain what consciousness is. Like, as soon as somebody that's totally into science can come back and tell me scientifically what consciousness is, then we can talk. But until then, no.
Yes. So do you have any other misconceptions about that?
Okay, so we can move on to number 3. So this one's fun. So the third most common misconception is that psychics are the work of the devil. We are evil and we can curse people and also remove curses, and it's all a work of witchcraft. So,
Ugh.
okay, so here's what I wrote down for this is that we are working with energy, and uh, the only time that we're gonna, okay, this is another way to call out a bullshit person, is that the only thing that we're ever going to pick up on in your energetic field is what's in your highest good. When we're talking to spirit guides, passed away loved ones, or we're reading into your chakras or your current energy in the time, it is all a communication with the higher you. So we are communicating with you in a higher form. Therefore, the higher form is never going to want anything that is negative or bad for you. Therefore, the higher you is never going to give us a message that's going to hurt you, just like telling you that you're going to die when you're 50. If it's not for your highest good, it's not going to come through. So if somebody is telling you stuff like that, then it is bullshit.
Yes, yes. So this is kind of, I guess, a triggery topic for me.
And it will be for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. I've had quite a few people. Actually, it's not been quite a few people, but okay. So I have kind of like two stories I want to talk about with this. So I have people coming to me often that another psychic has told them that they have been cursed, and in order to lift this curse, they have to pay hundreds of dollars to this said psychic to get this curse lifted. Bullshit. All of it's bullshit. Like, I have never, I mean, I have felt darkness around people. Yes. I don't technically think it's like demonic or anything like that. I think it's more mental darkness, like how I describe the grief holes. We can go into that a whole different, probably whatever. But I have never felt curses. And granted, like, it could happen. It could happen. I don't know. I've just never felt it. I don't think that people have that amount of power to completely take over a whole human, you know? That's just how my head works, and this is my own beliefs. You can fucking think what you want. But then I have actually had the opposite happen, where someone has told that I have cursed somebody. And that, like, this is the trigger for me, because never in my whole entire world would I ever want to, like, have bad juju on people, you know? And that is not my thing. Like Erica kept saying, we are a vessel, you know? And how I always kind of describe it is, like, whatever you believe in. So, like, let's say you believe in God. If you believe in God, then God is coming through me and going into you. Or you believe in the flying spaghetti monster, what the fuck ever, it comes through me into you. It is your beliefs that is getting, like, that's what's helping you. It has nothing to do with me. Like, but,
right, which is what I was going to say too about the curse thing, is that honestly, in my opinion, what a curse is your own mental trap. So if you believe that you're cursed, then you're cursed. So like, I get into that conversation a lot with people that are really into like paganism and witchcraft and are into the whole dark side of that. And they'll like freak out and be like, oh my God, I'm cursed. Somebody cursed me. And I'll be like, okay, well, the best way to get around that is to not believe in that. Like, not believe that you're cursed, you know, and be a little bit mentally stronger than what you're up against, basically. And yeah, also to go along with what you said about how you can read negative energy. But again, I think it's for the highest good. Like, I know one time when I was in a session, I saw like a dark entity that was surrounding this little girl. And come to find out, as we're unraveling the whole thing, her father passed away from alcoholism. And so obviously that was like you said, it was like a huge grief thing that was like projecting outside of her and crying out for help. It needed to be soothed and coddled and nurtured back into a positive, more light energy, which is what a light worker is. We go and we take that negative energy and we kind of like bring it to the light and show you what it is, so you're not scared of it anymore, and then it can go and go away. Yes. So that's how I feel about negative energy. It's not evil and it's not demonic. It's not like the work of the devil, because the work of the devil is more egoic, and this has no ego involved in it at all. So
Yep. I guess I do want to like make sure to say also like if you are watching this and you are pagan or Wiccan or whatever and you do practice rituals and do spells on people and stuff like that, I don't give a shit what you do. It has nothing to do with me. This is your own thing, and that is your to my understanding, spells are really just intent. You know, like I want to put out that this person gets away from me. We can still do that in our own energy of like, I need to cut the cord. I need to make sure that this person is no longer. So every single thing is just an intent thing. But if you want to get all extra, be a Wiccan and get some frog eyeballs and newts and whatever to make it like really happen, you know?
Right. Like I think it's whatever you use as your tools to focus your energy is great, you know?
Yes.
So if that's how you can really focus your intent, then awesome. But that's not going to be the same thing for everybody. And that's kind of the whole point is like, let's put down the judgments and open our mind a little bit to the whole thing, the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. And the connectedness that
yes.
It's all one and we don't need to be judging like, oh my God, this person is cursed, when in reality, there's just darkness around them. Let's help them instead of make it worse. You know what I mean?
Ooh, which is another good point. And I didn't write this down as a misconception, but I do think a lot of people, and I know me and you have had this frustration a lot, is that a lot of people think that going and seeing a clairvoyant or a psychic is going to fix their problems. If you go to someone that's really trying to help you, they're not going to fix your problems. They're going to try to help you fix your own problems. So,
Exactly.
you know, that's a big thing to add into all this as well.
Exactly. And same with like even meditation or anything like that. Like it is not a like, oh, quick fix. I know how to get my energy completely clear, blah, blah, blah. No, there's a lot of work that goes into this shit. So.
And also that's another thing too about acclaimed psychics, mediums, whatever. It's not just something that comes easily. It takes a lot of work.
A lot.
A lot.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so I'm excited for the last two. Okay, so number 4 is that psychics or mediums or clairvoyant people are just cold readers. So this is going along with that whole scientific material type of logical way of thinking, is that they're like, well, basically what they're doing is a trick with human psychology, and we're basically just like I think that the way that they describe it is we're saying like little key phrases and stuff to get you to say certain key phrases and stuff, and therefore we're able to do kind of like a probability thing in our head and then be like, well, based on human psychology and probability, I bet your mom passed away. And then the other person's like, oh my God, my mom did pass away. And it like turns into this whole thing, which, okay, that exists. Yes, there are people out there that do that. Yes, it's a real thing, but it's not every single person out there. So Claire, go on that one.
Okay, I feel like I need you to, like, when you say cold reader, that is, looking at their facial expressions, looking at their, like, everything like that. That's what you're meaning, correct?
Yes. It's basically like taking the little things that they're saying or the little pieces that they're giving you, and yes, like their communication style, their body language, like all those things, you're kind of putting it together in your head, kind of like a magician would do, and then you're like psychically, or you're using psychology to trick somebody, basically.
So yeah, that is totally, there's a lot of people that do that. And again, like I said, I've had a lot of bad readings. So, I remember one in particular, like being, sitting across from this person and she was sitting there trying to like convey like somebody spirit wise. And I'm like, you're not. I was like, this has nothing to do with me. I was like, I don't know who you're reading, but it's not me, you know? And that's fine. That's fine. And I have now, like, I used to love for the first, like, probably 6 years of my practice, always saying, like, I've never had a bad reading. Well, I totally have now. Like, it's because of the fact that the receiver of the reading isn't, like, open to receive it, you know? But regardless of that, okay, so let me just kind of say, like, how I do it. The first thing that I do if I'm connecting to, like, a dead person is I connect to how they passed away. So, like, let's say they passed away from lung cancer. I immediately am like, I can feel it in my lungs. Like, I can feel breath problems or something with that, you know? And so, like, okay. And then I ask, like, is that, because it's usually the best way to validate, like, this is exactly who I'm talking to, you know? And then they give me other little validations. So, like, let's say they show me a giraffe. And they're like, what the hell? I have nothing to do with a giraffe. But my guides show me my memories. Oh, excuse me. So, what a giraffe means to me is my sister actually got a matching. Oh, wait, kangaroo. Fuck, I fucked the whole thing up. So, pretend I said kangaroo. So, like.
So, I want to know where giraffe came from.
Yeah, I don't know. But okay, so, like, let's say it's a kangaroo, and then my guides show me this kangaroo, and the person is like, I have no idea what a kangaroo means. Well, my sister actually ended up getting a matching kangaroo tattoo with one of her, like, best friends. And then I tell that story to the person, and they're like, oh yeah, I did have a matching tattoo with this person. So that's just that way of how they convey how it's going through. Whereas a lot of psychics and a lot of, not psychics, mediums, this is more medium. So with a lot of mediums, they connect and they're like, oh, I see that they show up as cardinals. Fucking every single person.
So general.
Yeah, every single medium can say that. And it's like, oh, of course I see cardinals all the time. You know, like, they're fucking birds that live outside. Of course you're going to fucking see them, you know. So it's just,
you get that a lot too in the live audience readings.
Yes.
Like, they'll just poop something out of their mouth, and then of course out of the 300 people sitting in the crowd, there's going to be somebody that picks up on that general thing that you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really hard, and, like, that's why I try to do, like, actual specific things. Like, the only thing that's coming to my brain right now is because I connected to Charles Manson, like, one of my last readings. And I kept seeing, like, family, and it was, like, such a family, and then, like, a barbecue setting. And the person that I was connecting to, like, I actually felt the esophagus, which they drowned. So, like, it's super specific things. So, if you are looking to get a medium reading from someone, pay attention to the specifics. Because I'm not trying to, like, badmouth anybody, but I have listened to a lot of mediums, and they will first be like, oh, I feel that this person died of a heart attack. Very common way to die. And same with lungs, very common way to die. So you can easily say that. And then, I see that they show up as cardinals. Oh, I see that they show up as music to you. Oh, just very general stuff. But the tiny little detail things is like, one time I saw, like, a handwriting where I was like, why am I seeing, like, actual handwriting? I see a heart, and then it says, like, you know, like, love always. And then the girl, like, lifted up her sleeve, and she had her handwriting, love always, on her wrist, you know? Like, specific shit is what you need to pay attention.
Yeah, which also too, and I think that you can relate to this, like, when I've done the whole medium side of things, I kind of see it as, like, it kind of starts out a little bit more general, because to me it kind of just looks like a dark room, and I can tell that there's specific things that are kind of, like, coming forward and going backwards and stuff. But once you, like, call it out, and then you get specific enough to call that certain entity or whatever to the forefront, then that's when it can really start getting, like, super unique and deep to you, that it wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So it is always going to start out general.
Yeah, when you do that, like, for me, it's how the person died. So once I connect to, like, okay, this person died of lung cancer, it's like a plug-in. I plugged into their energy, and now I can open up, oh, look at this there, I show up, you used to catch frogs with them, and oh, blah, blah, you know, like, random shit like that would come up.
See, and for me, it's a name, I think. I think once I can get the name, then everything else kind of starts flooding in. And you know, that's a point too, is that, like, we are going to have different experiences with this, just like anybody else would, compared to us anyway. But the general thing here is that we're doing the same thing in our own way, and we're all different people. We all have different certain senses that are stronger than others, and et cetera, et cetera. So we're basically interpreting it in the only way that our human brain can do that. So like to someone else, the kinds of things that we're saying right now on how we see it in our head might sound kind of silly to you, but it has to look that way because we are still humans with a human brain. So these outer realm type of things have to come to us somehow, and it's going to come to us in a way like that, basically, that can make sense to our own brains.
Right. And it's confusing. Like, I didn't take a class that tells me how to be a medium. I didn't take anything. This is all self-taught, you know. So, like, another story kind of came to my mind. I remember I was doing a medium party at one point, and I kept seeing this, like, metal, I saw a clock, and then I saw something that was, like, welded metal. And that's all I kept saying. I was like, I see a clock right here, and then there's something like right over here that has something to do with welded metal. And it took the people a little bit, and they were like, oh, this clock was the family clock that's hanging in the family cabin or whatever, but we just put up my grandpa's whatever horseshoe welded, I don't know, whatever. And they knew exactly what I was talking about. But like, I saw the clock, and I think that a lot of mediums and, well, it could be psychics, whatever, could just tap into this and just see the clock. But really, the spirits are showing me this, you know? It's so confusing, right. And you have to take the time to slow down and really pay attention to what they're saying. Everyone can do this. It's just a matter of really slowing it down and paying attention. And it's hard. It's so hard. But,
and putting the work in, which is like, okay, so this is a great way to get into the next misconception, which is that to be a psychic or medium or clairvoyant, you have to be special or you have to be born with it. And so what I guess I want to say about this is that, first of all, I don't believe that. I think that so this one actually was my biggest misconception until I started actually doing it for myself. I kind of thought that way too. I thought, well, you have to be born with it. I don't know if I was really born with it, blah, blah, blah. But I disagree with that now. I think that everybody can do this. And I do agree with the fact that there are, okay, so again, I'm a huge believer in consciousness. And I think that psychic gifts are part of the evolution of consciousness. And I do think that certain people are born with a higher level of consciousness, and maybe they can kind of understand and tap into it at a younger age than other people can. Or maybe sometimes along the ways, some kids kind of lose it as they get older, or sometimes kids don't lose it as they get older. It just kind of depends, and it's so different from person to person. But I really think that if you put your mind to it and you actually do the conscious evolutionary work on yourself, and you actually do the work to try to figure out what exactly being a psychic or a medium is to you, then you can do it. I think that anybody can.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. There's so much to talk about with that. I don't even know where to start. But no, I definitely agree. Like, and everybody has their own little story. And I always, I guess for myself, I kind of, this is a bad analogy, and I'm going to get slack for it probably at some point, but it's like your testimony to being saved is Jesus saved wise, you know, it's kind of like that. Like, every single person has their own little story when it has something to do with ghosts, spirits, whatever, you know. And whatever that story is the door opening. Are you going to go in there? Are you going to explore it? Are you going to see if you can figure it out a little bit more, you know? And some people, like Erica said, are a little bit more prone to be like, yeah, fuck it, let's go, you know? Like, whereas a lot of other people are kind of like, no.
Oh my God. All right. That was crazy.
But yeah, so like it all depends on, and then you could just talk about just like plain life paths in general. Like, I mean, the accountant is not going to be the one that's going to be, maybe, you know, who knows, more than likely not going to be the person that's going to be talking to ghosts. Like, the person that talks to ghosts is the medium for the full time, you know, like, you have different roles in your life for a reason. Like, everybody does it. And it's just all a matter of, like, how you grew up, how you were raised. There's so much that goes into all of that.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to say is that I believe that every single little tiny baby that's born is kind of pure un I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but it's basically the most purest form of consciousness when you're born. And then I think that throughout life, different life experiences, the way that you're parented, basically everybody else's working, evolving consciousness starts to imprint on yours. And when you start to do the consciousness work, basically you're not trying to find something outside of yourself. You're trying to shed off all of those pre-programmed layers to get to the real self, back to that little baby you, that pure consciousness.
Yeah. So
Which
I guess,
is why kids are better at it.
yes,
Just
yes.
yeah.
Uh, Dang it, hang on. Let me think for a second. I like just had a story where it happened, where I was talking to a dad. Oh, this was something with the radio. I was talking to a dad, and he was like, yeah, my daughter, when she was like, I feel like he said like 5 or 6 months old, said full sentences and said, I have been here before. I used to be this, like some sort of a job thing. A 6 month old, you know? And like, normally that's something that like maybe like a 4-year-old could say like a full sentence like that, or a 3-year-old. I don't know. I don't have kids. But like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
definitely not a 6-month-old.
Right. And so he was like, I was so freaked out. I was so weirded out that this is that. But he's like, this is my child that is a little bit different, that is a little bit more sensitive. So I think that parents know that once, like, you have, like, a 6-month-year-old or whatever that's, like, coming out being a weirdo, sensitive, blah, 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 you're like, okay, if we could have the knowledge as parents to be like, all right, we need to handle this one with a little bit of a different care and nurture that instead of being
gift.
like, no, that's
looking at
weird.
it like a gift.
Yes,
Yeah, looking
yes.
at it like a gift rather than, again, the misconception that it's evil or wrong. Yeah.
Exactly. I wish that we could do that in this day and age, and everyone did that, because we could go into the whole conversation of how many fucking people are in psych wards for just their spiritual gifts and they're not supposed to be there, you know?
Right. Right.
So,
Which is, and again, it's because, so basically, I think that the best way to handle life is to be open-minded. If you want to evolve your consciousness, basically, the first step is to open your mind, start kind of questioning and shedding the certain beliefs and pre-programmings that you already have, and just being open to everything. So once I shed my misconception that you had to be born with it, and thanks to Claire, I realized that actually it's something that I've been doing my entire life. I was just unconscious of it, and I wasn't paying enough attention to it. And then once I started paying more attention to it and kind of like sitting with it and having a relationship with it and getting to know it and learn it, then I started to hone in on that, and like then out came all these other things, and I grew upon that. So yeah, first step is you have to just be open-minded to it in the first place.
yes, yeah. Okay, was that the last of your...
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I think now I kind of want to go through, like, the Claires. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Because
So-
I think this might help people that maybe if you're kind of experiencing things that you don't know what it is, this could kind of get to the nitty gritty of if you're like, if it's something that Claire says might pop out at you and you're like, oh yeah, I relate to that. I've been doing that. Boom, there you go. And you can kind of work upon that.
Yeah. So we kind of talked a little bit about clairvoyance, like how like I said, this is my main gift. And clairvoyance for me is I legit get a like 30-second clip of, like, I remember sitting in a restaurant and I could like look over at a couple and I see a whole movie picture of how they got into a giant fight the night before, and like I can feel the energy, feel all of that, and I can see them. It's like I can legit see them. So that's like clairvoyance. It's movie pictures, images, stuff like that. Like this could also go play a part with It's a way of learning. Hang on, like what is I can't fucking think of it right now.
Oh, photogenic learning,
Is that the right
right?
words?
Yeah, because that's when, like, let's say that you look at a test and then like an hour later you go back to take the test, you can see it exactly in your mind the way that you saw it an
Yes,
hour
that's
ago.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, but I don't think it's called
Photogenic memory.
photographic memory. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Photogenic is how you look on
Yeah.
camera. Yeah.
Okay, so and I have that. I remember like anytime I would like not study in class, I would be slacking. I was a terrible student. Well, we don't need to go there. But like I remember like if a person was taking notes on the board or whatever, I could be like, "Oh, we're talking about photosynthesis." I remember the words exactly on the board. Like so I think that has a play in with clairvoyance and stuff like that, and I could remember like, oh, I watched a whole like okay, for example, when we went over Romeo and Juliet when I was in high school, I had already watched the movie Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio. By the way, I know all of the words. That was my favorite movie, but I could flat out be like, okay, and I could recite the whole thing because I had already watched it. Like. So it's a strange thing, but with me, I also have the selective photographic memory or whatever. Like I can like okay, for example, I know that I've probably seen the movie Pulp Fiction, but nothing stuck and no memory happens. You know,
How?
I don't know. I have no memory of ever watching it. Like. So that's what I'm saying. Like I have selective things where I know that I pick up on it, and it is something that I was supposed to pick up on. But then there are times where it's like I have no idea what that was. You know. So do you have anything to kind of, I guess, convey when it comes to clairvoyance?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think that everybody's memory kind of does that. You kind of drop certain things and you kind of pick up on certain things. And again, memory is just a limit within your own consciousness. So you could remember things differently than other people, that have the same memory as you. Um, I was traumatized by Pulp Fiction, by the way. I saw it when I was like 6. Not okay.
I don't remember
But
at
okay,
all.
so for me, I would agree that that's probably my strongest gift too. I also see like kind of visions or flashes of visions. Um, I do not have a photographic memory. I'm the type of person that has to keep looking at something like every 2 digits to like keep writing down copying like something like some digits or whatever. I suck at that. I can remember song lyrics like crazy though. I can listen to a song one time and then be able to sing it word for word after listening to it. But I would say that I kind of pick up on like a visual thing of like seeing something that's happening in your life. Also, like in the medium, like I kind of remember when I was doing a medium session with you for 6, I kind of saw it as like me and him were at this like meeting room table, and he's like sitting there in a dark room with like a light flashing on him, and I could just kind of pick up on like his personality or like his like the way that his body language was. And I guess I wouldn't even necessarily see that in a vision. It was just kind of like that I just knew that that's what he was like somehow. So that's kind of like I think how I work with energy. But if you want to go on to the
So
next
what
one.
you just said is a vision, if you were able to see and feel and all of that. So there is different levels of clairs that were conveyed in that. But yes, that was clairvoyance. So I just wanted
Okay.
to...
Okay.
But as far as the music goes, let's go into the next clair. Clair, oh, poop. That isn't the next one. Hang on. Well, I thought it was. Well, I'm just going to go to the next one. Clairaudience. Yes, this is it. Okay. So it's it says that this is the hearing the words, sounds, or music in your own mind. Spirits can create audible sounds. This is best understanding when we hear something out loud. Natural talents are like musicians, writers, public speakers, stuff like that. So my guides speak to me with music all the time, where I'll just randomly wake up and I'm like, why do I have this song stuck in my head? Like hardcore stuck in my head. And I go to look up the lyrics and it is exactly what is going on in my life. And it kind of like unlocks something to help, But this is also like spirits, like, and this has happened to me numerous times as well, where, And it's usually the like right when you wake up in the morning or right when you're going to fall asleep at night kind of a thing, because that's when you're the most vulnerable. But then also when I open up my office hours, like I can hear spirits. I can hear that they have a raspy voice. I can hear that they cussed all the time. I could hear how they said, like, oh, love muffin, like the nicknames and stuff like that. Or, so just hearing in general. So I would say, Erica, that you are a little bit more potent when it comes to clairaudience. Would you agree?
Okay. Yes, because you kind of reminded me with that. That might be also why I can strongly pick up on things like names, and that's kind of how I focus in on like a certain person because bam, their name just comes to me. And it does sometimes feel like there's literally something like whispering in my ear. And also, yeah, community, like I can always sense when my mom's around because of music. Like
Yep.
I feel like she just plays through the speakers type of thing. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the Claire audience and like and the reason, guys, why we're going over this is because like how she talked about like the psychic level or medium umbrella or whatever. These are the different types, and that's why I wanted to like dive into this a little bit. But yeah, so Claire audience. That's kind of it. Do you have anything else to go over with that?
No, no, but I think that's kind of going to say like I didn't know that about myself, you know? So I'm hoping that when we're talking about this, it might kind of like spark something within all the people watching this to realize that everybody truly is capable.
Everybody.
You all have your yeah, you
Yeah.
all have your own special little things.
Yes. So the next one is clairsentience, and that's the clear feeling. And this is feeling the person's emotions. More than likely, this is the empaths of the world.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. So this would be considered like empath work then.
Yes.
Okay.
So we feel other people's pain. We can feel the emotions that they had to go through. Most people that are clairsentients can be consciously aware. Getting that gut feeling when you just need to do something. That's also that kind of a thing. It's just the clear, like, just, oh my gosh, you gotta go do this kind of a feel. This is when some people can get like the chills for no reason. Like, oh, this person walked by and then you're just like, woo, you get the full blown, like you just feel people's energy kind of a thing. These are the natural caregivers. So alongside with empath, you can just easily say that they're clairsentients, these are the nurses, these are the teachers, these are the healers, these are the people that like have to fix because they feel it and they can help it, or they think they can.
Ooh, okay. So then also this could kind of umbrella intuition, I think, and then
Into what?
also intuition.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And then also too, another thing to add to that, I think, is that like there was something I was gonna dang it, I hate this when this happens.
Yay,
I
Aquarius.
think I think that when you're talking about like the natural healers and stuff, this kind of also goes to that polarity of there is a polarity between ego and empath that separates the two. So empaths are like a little bit more vulnerable to like getting, I don't know, kind of like the rabbit and the wolf, I guess, kind of getting wolfed on by someone that's really ego-centered or like a narcissist or people that drain their energy and they don't really realize why. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. And more like in my opinion and what I have seen with all of the people that I do heal all the time, this is the most common Claire.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So, and like I said, it's just that, and not to like be weird, but more than not, it's female. And I can easily feel like, oh, this person has kids. You have clairsentience fully with your kids. You can completely feel everything empathic wise when it comes to kids, So,
Ooh, yeah. So one thing that I guess we kind of both know when we're doing Reiki is that empath vortex, like, it's like the whole cord cutting thing. You, when you're an empath, you kind of form cords to other people. So of course, when you're a mom, you get that mother's intuition. You kind of just naturally, or you're supposed to anyway, naturally form that empathic cord to your children. And then sometimes you can do that with like significant others or friendships and stuff, and kind of like form that cord between the two of you. Go ahead.
Okay, we're fine.
Okay. But I did want to say, like, you're right. It is mostly, it's a feminine energy kind of thing. So like, I feel like there is males that kind of have more feminine energy, and,
Yeah.
and you can tell that they're more empathic. But if you look at someone who's really selfish, egotistical, or narcissistic, the reason why they don't have that ability is because they are so involved with themselves that they can only feel their own pain. The reason why empaths want to fix other people is because, like she said, we feel uncomfortable when you feel uncomfortable. So our ego even kind of kicks in. It's like, how can we fix this? Because I don't want to feel uncomfortable anymore.
Yeah.
So in order to not feel uncomfortable, I have to make you not feel uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. So that's
a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah. We could probably do a whole episode on empaths just in general. We probably should.
We could.
But
we should.
The next one is clairalliance. It's a clear smelling. So this is being able to smell odors that don't have any physical source, smelling perfume or cigarette smoke of a deceased relative, or like just smelling energy around you. These people, like job-wise, would be like more florists, or working with perfume or essential oils, stuff like that. Like, I love how there's like little jobs for each one. But
yeah, that's cool.
Thank you, Bailey, that did this, because that was amazing. But yeah, so clear smelling, like, and I know hands down this is one of my big things. Like, one of my favorite just like personal stories is like when I was living in this house in Lincoln. I remember walking down the stairs and I smelled this like strong cologne. And I was like, whoa, God. And my boyfriend at the time did not wear cologne. So I was like, I have no idea where this is coming from. All the windows are shut. This is weird, you know? And then for some reason, my intuition just told me to like open the bathroom cabinet thing, like the medicine cabinet. There was the bottle of Chanel No. 5 cologne in there. And I was like, I've been living here for months and that was never there. Like, I still have the bottle. Like, it was a legit thing. Like, it was not something that I saw when I moved in. It was super weird. So, that was like the male energy that was in the house. And then, whenever I would feel the female energy in the house, she would bake cookies. And I would always smell cookies and stuff like that. And there's just numerous times where it's always weed. I smell weed all the time with spirits and cigarettes and, yeah, all of that stuff. Do you have this, Claire?
Okay, so I don't think this has ever come out in like a session that I'm doing with someone else. So I'm gonna assume that no, like other people's guides or other people's energies don't give me smells. But I have smell memory. Like I can distinctly remember the smell of my grandma. She passed away when I was 7. I can like remember my dad's Pall Malls, the smell of his cigarettes and his Pontiac mixed with like the cherry air fresheners. Yeah, you know, so I have smell memory, but no, I don't think that I pick up on that in other people's energy.
Yeah, I think that it could be something that comes out, like when you just said the whole grandma thing. I remember when I was living out on the farm last year, I just kept smelling like my grandma. And I was like, what is that smell? And there's literally no way to describe it other than like onions and like dirty dish rags. Like just
that's not good.
No. She was a bitch anyways. But like like it was just like that kind of a thing where I think that if a spirit wants to show you something and you ask in some way, like they will come forward in whatever way that they can if you're open to it, you know?
Yeah, obviously, my grandma, she passed, I think I was 8 years old, 7 or 8 when she passed away. And oddly, I remembered the smell of her house. And then the first house that I moved into after she died had that smell. And like me being a 9, 10-year-old at that point, and I like walked in and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the same smell as my grandma's house in this
Yeah.
house. And I remember my family was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it smells like a house. And I don't know. And then the only third time I've ever smelled that smell again in my life was just actually last year. My aunt moved into that house, and I went there and saw it, and I was like, whoa, there's that smell again. Like, after all these years, it still smells that way. So,
That's
and
so
I can't
cool.
describe what the smell is at all, but yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next one. We have Claire Gustins, I think, and I'm sorry, I'm absolutely terrible with pronouncing shit correctly. But this is the clear tasting. So this is the ability to taste something that isn't already there. It comes out of the blue when a deceased loved one is attending to communicate like memory that reminds you of them. So jobs obviously are like chefs and bakers, food critics, stuff like that. This is one of, I will admit wholeheartedly, one of my absolute favorite Clairs that I have to, like, I have so many stories of so many loved ones that just, like, shove a cannoli in my face. Is that the right word? Cannoli?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think
and
so.
then, like, like black licorice or, like, you know, like one particular one I remember, this grandma, like, showing up at the door. I could see the clairvoyant vision of her with her little plate of cookies, and then she shoved a cookie in my mouth, and it was oatmeal, but not raisins. It was chocolate chips. And I was like, I've never seen that before. I always see that it's like raisins. And she's like, that was her trick. So nobody else would eat them. So it was just a me and her thing. And I was like, that's so cute. Like, so it's specific, actual like tastes and stuff like that. And I think that this gets the best of me all the time because of spirits. Which is another thankful reason that I don't ever want to get pregnant, because I crave shit out of nowhere because spirits put it in my mouth, where I'll be like, ooh, I need some sauerkraut and dumplings right now. Like, you know, like big time stuff like that. So, do you have this, Claire?
So no, I don't have it at all. But I laugh because you're a Taurus rising, and that's all I could think of. So I also kind of think that's a cool correlation. Is that I think maybe sometimes your gifts can be based off of that too. So there is kind of a predetermined fate aspect to what comes stronger to you and what doesn't. You know?
Yeah. Wow.
Because that's interesting. I have no Taurus in my chart, and food.
Yeah, I'm all about it. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's one of my favorite ones. And then the last one that we're going to go over is claircognizance, and that's just the clear knowing. So this is more the intuition one, I believe. So this is acknowledging people, events that would normally not have knowledge about. Spirit impresses us with truths that pop into our minds out of nowhere, like the forewarning or like something that's going to happen in the future. This gift requires tremendous faith because there is absolutely no particular explanation to why we know these things. So the people that are like job-wise for this are like philosophers, doctors, scientists, religious, spiritual teachers, powerful business leaders, stuff like that. So here we go into the whole future thing with this as well, but just the absolute clear knowing. I will admit that there is quite a few people that are laying on my table that I know have this gift, but are way too disconnected to plug into it. Mm-hmm. So, just that whole plain, like, this is going to happen. And I will admit, this is the hardest Claire for me. I think it should be the hardest for everybody. Yeah.
I was just going to say that. I think this is the most complicated one and the most, I think this one takes a complete shedding of ego to get down to the raw form of it, which is the hardest thing to do as a person.
Yeah, complete surrender to be like, this is exactly, like, I just know. But I have people all the time where they'll say, like, I just get this gut feeling and I gotta go do this. And it's like, okay, so that's your claircognizance. That's that. But a lot of the time people do not pay attention to that, you know? So
your ego, the fear of it all is what, like, kind of cuts you off from that. I've known people or heard of people, this is a rare thing to like find someone that is like 100% in what we call a flow state, which just means that they're kind of like, they're kind of just like letting this whole thing just guide them completely 100%. And I have seen some of the most wildest things come out of that for other people, like just things that they would have never imagined happening to them, and it ends up happening because they completely surrendered to this gift. So
yeah. So yeah, this one does come with a lot of practice, and it is a lot of I want to say baggage with it, but I think that, again, this could be a whole other topic that we just talk about, plain intuition in general, and being able to trust that and have faith. But yeah, this is another common one along with that empath one these are the main ones that just like normal everyday people are walking around with, you know? Yeah. So we are right at about an hour now.
are we really, like, we didn't go over?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
And we're trying to time it so it's not as long. And I knew that the first one was going to be longer because we were going into our whole life stories and all of that stuff. So, thank you to everybody that did watch that. You guys are amazing. And sorry, not sorry for pissing a bunch of people off. This is our lives. If you don't like it, fuck off.
Exactly.
But yeah, do you have anything else to kind of go over?
I don't think so. I'm excited. It's our second podcast. This is a topic that was asked to be talked about, so that's what we are doing. If you have any other topics that you would like us to go over, please contact either one of us, or
put it in the comments.
Yeah, so we are going to post this both on our individual Facebook pages, but we do have a Sacred Rebels, which, you know what, we didn't even like introduce ourselves as that or anything, but oh well. Okay, so this will be under the Sacred Rebels. We're getting better though, I think. So this will be under our YouTube channel, and we also have a united email address, which is sacredrebels333@gmail.com. So you can also send requests to our email address for topics to discuss. And I think, again, just make sure that you are hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel, and make sure that you also hit that little bell so that way you're notified when we post a new video, and share this content so we can get our message out to more people and hopefully wake people up to the fake bullshit that's out there, so that way people aren't wasting their money and wasting their energy on things that are not good for them. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, again, I'm Clairvoyant Psychic Media. If you want to check out any of my stuff, I'm across the board on all platforms. And you say your stuff.
I'm Erica Lane. You can find me on Facebook at Erica Lane Astrology. And yeah.
That's it, everybody. Thank you again for watching. We love you.
Thank you.